course, we are the most unorthodox show on the globe. And as always, I am one of your hosts, Myra B. King.
And this is Desi Dez.
And it's your boy Dave, aka Mojo, in the building. And we got another special guest with us, sir. Let the people know who you are.
What's up, guys? This is Layne Smoke on Instagram, and I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Oh,
absolutely. Layne Smoke. Now listen, dude, you be looking like you smoke some of this finest on that Instagram, sir. And what's funny to me is one of your biggest quotables is "Do not smoke weed on Instagram."
Oh yes, it just depends how it's done and how it's portrayed. Like overconsumption is more of the proper terminology I should have used. Because. And also Instagram has changed over the years. Like Instagram was very like when people were first dropping weed content, they were deleting any and everything. And now I think as legislation is kind of eased up a little bit, it's been a little bit easier. But really what they get you on nowadays is overconsumption. So meaning like if I put my head inside of a giant gravity bong, it's something, and I just try to, breathe through it, and I'm like visibly coughing, and it's like a weird fine line because those videos tend to get reported more. But if you do smoke in like a comedic fashion and you don't actually show what you're smoking, if it's in a form of a blunt or a joint, it could literally be whatever, like a lot of my content doesn't specifically allude to me like say rolling up the weed or anything. It's just like pre-done, and it's just kind of done more in a comedy meme format, which seems to get under the radar. So that's kind of the approach I've been taking normally.
Great. So for those who don't know, like explain to everybody, like who exactly are you?
So my name's Layne. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I currently live in LA. And I have a marketing agency of my older brother called Top Tree, and we're based out of Houston and LA, and we also have some people in Oklahoma because that's a new emerging cannabis market. And we're a full service marketing agency. And we've been in the industry for about 6 years and help various brands with their social media, marketing and, overall like brand presence as much as we can. And some of our clients are like Raw Rolling Papers and, some more established brands in the industry. And I, about a year and a half ago, just started making content for myself for smoke. And that's kind of been a new thing for me, but I've been in the meme, marketing world for about 6 years previous to this. But yeah, that's kind of our background. And I worked in music before getting into cannabis. So I learned a lot of my marketing, know-how from working with different artists, helping them, roll out their music and stuff like that.
What kind of client does your company pick up or help out?
Really, we try to work with companies that are in the cannabis space that, you could be a dispensary, you could be a brand, you could be, or ancillary product, meaning like rolling trays, anything that isn't necessarily flower touching. And we basically, since you're limited on what sort of ads you can do, you can't do any paid advertisement. The best way to reach people is through making organic original content or, working with people who have a larger following on various pages and then integrating your product into their content. So those are kind of the ways we work. And those are the sort of, people we work with in the industry. But we do everything from like delivery platforms to, people that make these rollers, and stuff like that. So it's a very broad spectrum of people we work with.
Yeah, I mean, Advanced Nutrients, Atlantic Records, Hemper Company. I mean, you got plenty of clients, no doubt about that.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Now, with clients like Atlantic Records, now do you take on the record company per se, or are you taking on specific people from the company who are represented by Atlantic?
Hey, this your boy Desi Dez.
And it's your boy Mojo. And if you like what you are seeing so far, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the page.
Please.
And if all else fails and you like what you talking about as far as this merch wise, baby, hit us up. You know what I'm saying? Check us out on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook at Twistedyounginz with a Z. You know what I'm talking about? Make sure you give us an email at twistedyounginz@gmail.com for all promotions.
Where's it at twistedyounginz@gmail.com.
Yes, sir, with a Z. And also, if y'all don't like what you see right now, as far as merch wise, we got more merch, and we also do merch.
Do your merch
Send
too.
us in a
We
couple
support
designs.
everybody.
Yeah, and we do promotional packages, interviews, videos, articles, whatever you guys need, man. Just make sure you hit us up. Holla at you, baby.
Yeah, so like Atlantic, we have a relationship with Atlantic, so you know, they're ways they like to roll out singles sometimes for some of their developing artists are working with various meme pages. There was an article I think about a year ago where I forgot what record label did it, but they purchased a large meme account for like, you know, quite a bit of money. So a lot of record labels see value in organic meme marketing. And that's basically how we work with record labels most, is through, you know, creating memes when an artist is coming out with a song, and then putting it behind them, you know, the music, and integrating it into the you know, content. So that's kind of the main way we work with a label per se.
Okay.
How do you construct a perfect meme for someone? Like I noticed, for example, like I know you won't use the same meme for like, you know, 3 or 4 companies. Like you may construct something different from each case, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Like if a sorry, my cats are fighting. Hold on, let me get them out of here. Sorry about that. But basically, yeah, this cat is nuts. I just got a new cat. But basically, you know, every product has a different way it relates to the consumer. So, you know, if you're working with a brand that's maybe an edible company, there's a ton of memes that relate specifically to when the edible hits, or something, you know, relatable in that format. Or if you're, you know, if you're working with a backwood style company or something along those lines, you may want to make a meme that is about how backwoods are always dry, and how our backwoods aren't dry, and, you know, you're not going to have issues. So basically just trying to reverse engineer like how the consumer, how like a negative situation could happen with the consumer and a product, and then showing how this product is different in a meme format. So like, you know, instead of saying our product is better than this one, we can make it more you know, relatable in kind of a comedic way.
Like spark conversation about it.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
No, that's genius.
You also see cannabis as a medical benefit, correct?
Yeah, 100%. It's it definitely, you know, people who you know, not to say all prescription drugs are bad, but, you know, a lot of prescription drugs are overprescribed, and you know, because there's more of a financial interest involved with a lot of pharmaceutical companies. And I just think, you know, people who have PTSD, or who are undergoing cancer treatment, or are, you know, have dementia, or even though people say weed doesn't help your memory, but, you know, in some cases it can. And, you know, there's just a lot of positive medical benefits to cannabis. So even though it's sold in a recreational format, you know, I still think the medical days were great, because there wasn't all this tax, you know, associated with the product. Now in today's market, there's a lot of tax, you know, basically that prevents products from, you know, reaching all consumers, and because the price is now higher than it used to be before, when it was medical.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we gotta make our money off of it.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue, man. Like out in Illinois, like I said, me being a weed smoker that I am, I've been I was out in Colorado when they first popped off with the whole weed thing. Out in Colorado, it's $10 a gram. With the tax on top of that, you're probably looking at about $20 per gram of top shelf weed. Now in Illinois, we're looking at about 15, 20 bucks a gram per se, way before we even get the taxes. And Illinois taxes are super high, so we're looking at adding about extra 10 to 15 bucks on it. So we're out in Illinois, you're looking at about $30, $35 per gram. It's rough.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, it's outrageous, you know, because like this blunt right here is 2.5 grams, you know, so how can that even be like financially possible for a smoker? Yeah.
And you smoke the whole thing?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As you should, sir. As you should.
I do want to ask you something personal, and I could definitely be wrong about this, but I want to go as slow as possible. But did you have a brother pass away from cancer?
I did. My middle brother passed away from cancer, and actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Right now, I'm doing a charity fundraiser for him for the Lymphoma Society. He unfortunately, he wasn't a smoker. He just basically, it's, you know, sometimes it's not even genetic in our family. He just unfortunately, you know, was given this awful disease, and it took his life about 5-6 years ago. And it's you know, it's basically why my older brother and I work together now. We both were in different careers, and through healing, through grief, we basically found that it was easier to, you know, stay closer together, work together. And we both are very passionate about cannabis, and we like to do things that are very like, you know, like it doesn't feel like work, like what you guys are doing right now. Like this is, it's work, obviously, and we're, you know, working hard every day to do better, but we're still enjoying what we do. So cannabis, you know, it's something all three of my brothers and, you know, I related to. And you know, and basically that he worked for the Obama administration, and you know, if you Google his name, Brandon Lipo, you could see some really cool you know, background on him. He did a lot of really cool things for helping Obama get elected, and you know, just he was in the political world, so who knows what he could have done for cannabis on the political side, you know. But yeah, that's kind of you know, how I got started in the industry too. It played a major part, you know, into getting me into cannabis for sure.
Now, did he ever try to get in? Did he ever try to use cannabis for medical reasons doing his?
Yeah, 100%. You know, chemo. When he worked for the government, he wasn't able to use cannabis to help with his treatment. But when he ended up working for Facebook after the Obama administration, and was doing you know, really like basically communicating with the United States on how to use Facebook, you know, like the government, you know. It was a very crazy job he had. And you know, Facebook, say what you want about, you know, Mark Zuckerberg sometimes, but their medical benefits, you know, really kicked in, and were able to help him during all of his treatment. They held nothing back. And, you know, basically, sorry, these cats are nuts, man. And basically, you know, we're able to use cannabis as part of his treatment, not, you know, not from insurance or anything like that, but he was getting treated in Houston, actually. And we would bring cannabis from Seattle, where I was living at the time. And there's a specific type of, you know, smoking cannabis isn't good when you're going through cancer treatment. Smoking anything lowers your immune system. So I'm not saying that, you know, cannabis, there aren't many adverse effects of smoking cannabis, but, you know, ingesting smoke in general isn't good for your lungs when you're going through chemotherapy and have lymphoma. So he stuck more towards Rick Simpson oil, or RSO, and it's activated THC, very high percentage in, you know, cannabinoids. And it's basically, it kills cancer cells straight up, and it has insane medical benefits that the medical community should be focusing more on, especially people who are dealing with chemotherapy and are getting prescribed opiates. Because if you're not in the right mind state to fight something, you know, you almost have to be in the right mind state during treatment of cancer, just to keep up with the you know, how it brings you down a few notches. So the more opiates you're on and other suppressants like that, it can mess up your mindset, whereas cannabis seems to uplift the soul when you're going through treatment like that.
Okay. You said that's Rick oil?
Yeah, Rick Simpson oil, and they come in syringes. And you could read up on Rick Simpson. He was you know, he was in the cannabis community before me, obviously, and he was one of the, you know, guys that really invented a pretty groundbreaking product. And you could still purchase, you know, forms of his product, RSO, at different dispensaries, you know, now in California and then, you know, Washington State.
Who was some of the
Colorado
he was working with?
What was that?
Who were some of the artists you were working with before you got into it?
Yeah, so I've worked with my first artist I worked with was Waka Flacka. I used to book him a lot for fraternities, and I was booking shows early on, and that's how I kind of got into the industry, was through concerts for college, you know, organizations. They would give me their budgets for their parties, and I would help coordinate their social events. And depending on the college, you know, some had bigger budgets than others. And Waka Flocka seemed to always be that perfect artist for a college. You know, they always wanted Waka. So his manager and I got really close. And then there's some other artists that I booked, like Macklmore. And Macklmore ended up, you know, he was already well established when I was booking him, but he ended up his career really exploding after that. And he gave me the opportunity to work with him in Seattle. During the time I was working for Macklmore, a good friend of mine and I helped develop the artist Russ, who is a prominent hip hop artist, and that's currently who I work with, and I'm doing his weed line right now. And Russ is kind of the main artist I work with currently in the music industry.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's the song of week, right? Everybody trying to follow his
Mr. Innovator right there.
Yeah, that definitely. Russ is you know, we found him early on in SoundCloud, and Waka's previous manager, my friend Milan, he now you know, manages Russ and has been, you know, working with him independently.
Shout out to Russ.
Right. Yeah, shouts out to him.
Yeah.
And we know you're a big cannabis consumer, but have you ever did shrooms or anything? You ever dabbed or anything?
He said, yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Shrooms, I think, are you know, like with anything, overconsumption is bad. Shrooms you can't quite consume on the same level as you consume cannabis, but if you do integrate it into your, you know, it's not for everyone. And you know, a lot of people have a negative first experience with psychedelics because they don't understand what dosages or the source it came from. So it's also scary. You know, people are afraid they're going to run into the middle of traffic naked if they take mushrooms. So they don't know whether it's something that could help them or drive them crazy. And I just want to promote the message that if done properly, you know, shrooms can help people with depression massively and anxiety. I suffer from anxiety. That's one of the main things why I smoke cannabis. I definitely, you know, like, business can be very stressful and managing campaigns, and sometimes you're in a creative rut. So I use cannabis to help me creatively and for anxiety. And you know, shrooms also can massively help with that as well if done, you know, in a microdose format. I feel like very small dosages at a time, and then, you know, consumed as needed, not necessarily on a day-to-day basis. But some people believe that you should be on mushrooms every day. I feel that, you know, it's good. Maybe it's like a once a month thing, or, you know, every 3 months, you know, maybe once a year, you just need to take a little you know, because psilocybin stays in your body much longer than THC. So you know, after 2 to 3 months, it could still be in your bloodstream to a degree and still having positive effects on your you know, brain chemistry.
What about DMT? Yeah. Have you heard of that?
I have never done DMT. I've heard of DMT. I have many friends that have tried DMT. I am skeptical of taking it because it's not necessarily from a plant. You know, LSD and DMT aren't plant derivatives. I mean, maybe there are. I could be speaking wrong, but I feel like those are more lab made. So drugs, so it's harder to necessarily, you know, like you could have Walter White making that, or you could have some random guy off the street making, you know, and usually you just have to trust the source. But DMT can
I thought they came from a toad or something.
It's like different form.
There is a toad psychedelic as well. That is about 1,000 times stronger than DMT, from what I understand. So when you do the toad, it's a very intense experience that sometimes people have PTSD or like some things they really need to work out. You know, you lick the toad, and I know people that have started billion-dollar companies after licking the toad. No bullshit. Yeah.
That's what Mike Tyson said. Mike Tyson said he loves it. Like he said,
I have not ventured that far. I've tried, you know, LSD. You know, I've tried mushrooms, and I've tried cannabis. Besides that, I've stuck to my guns on those. So those.
You ever had any like horror highs or like bad trips, like scenes?
I
didn't want to see.
100%. I've taken too much acid before, and totally have been. I experienced ego death, I guess, and which is, you know, I don't know, whatever that is, and you just kind of, I had, you know, people were coming. I was watching a television show, and the people started coming out of the television to that level. So I was like, wow, I am in a different world altogether right now. It's overwhelming. Some people love that, and they're like, wow, I love this, but for me, I was like, I'm on a roller coaster that I cannot get off of right now. Like, whereas cannabis, I can kind of like manage, like I'm driving a car, you're on a roller coaster and you're just strapped in, like have fun. Like that's more about LSD. You have to be willing to let go to have the best experience possible. And sometimes when it's a little too intense, I kind of get, you know, you have issues letting go at those moments. So
that's acid. Is that the stuff they was on when they were talking about running
acid?
With Bunny.
Psychedelics. You talking about Go X Alice when she's 10 feet tall? Yeah. That's exactly.
When she's 10 feet tall.
Yeah. For real, man. Like I've heard a dude say he was on that shit and he was running. He went to the house to grab the doorknob and it melted, and he just couldn't get in the house. So he was outside.
Been building for. I saw someone's face melt off their skull. Like, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
What is it like?
It's absurd.
What is it like working with the guy? I forget his name, the owner of Raw. What is it like working with a company like Raw? That's so, when I say innovative, I don't want to throw this around, but they are innovative in the terms of they actually have not only just new product coming out every other week. It's the way they're bringing it out, the way they market their products. Every other week, they have something new for people. And with them just being a cannabis rolling company, that's just what you would think they are. But they're always coming out with special gadgets, weed trade, rings for the joints and everything, all types of cones, lighters, all types of things. So what's it like working with someone like that or a company like that that pushes products out as fast as they do? Marketing.
Josh is Josh Kesselman is the founder of Raw, and he's got to be one of the most, like, innovative people that I've met. And he gives me my creative space to work with him, and it's really cool to work with somebody that allows me to do what I do on helping, social media and things of that sort. But I really give him a lot of credit because he understands social media almost better than me, if not way better than me. What he's done with his personal pages on TikTok are amazing, and on Instagram. But really what it comes down to is making a quality product that he's been able to scale on a mass level, and he started off as a smoke shop owner and, just developed household name companies. And that's my goal. One day I would love to have a brand, at his level. And really it's awesome to be able to work with a living legend like that in the industry and, get to ask him questions and get perspective in real time. And, it's, to me, I'm very fortunate to know people that meet the people I get to meet. And a big part of me coming out to LA and living out here was to meet more people. Josh isn't based out of here, but a lot of the owners of these, innovative companies are based out of here. And it's cool to see because our industry as a whole is still at its infancy, but you have people like Josh that have paved the way and like stood in front of like helped major corporations and pushed them out and created a major lane for the cannabis consumer at smoke shops. Like before Josh, there were no new rolling paper brands for over 100 years, so it's just like to come into a space where there hasn't been a new player in 100 years is just pretty hard in itself. It's like coming up with a new tissue company and knocking out Kleenex, because Zigzag at the time was Kleenex, so it's like pretty awesome to see that happen.
Yeah.
As a business owner and involved in marketing and help drive consumers to a product, what do you think is one of the biggest attributes that you take away that is useful and helpful for when it comes to marketing to a certain demographic to get them to want to be involved with the product, be interested in it, to purchase it?
It really comes down to how you relate to the consumer. If you're just posting, brand related content all the time, and you're trying to, achieve like that Gucci or Louis Vuitton, stature without relating to the consumer, to me, that's the biggest pitfall is, like I'll use Raw as an example. Like a lot of their content is education based. So people aren't educating the consumer. People don't know what products to buy at the store. It's the industry forgets a lot about how new the consumers are, so a lot of people, what I see they miss is making sure they're educating the consumer and not just coming out with a cool brand, but like teaching the consumer about the product and how it's best used, and making content that is funny and isn't too serious. Like I see a lot of brands take themselves too seriously all the time, and it ends up backfiring, I feel like, because you're trying to always keep that like always keep the same look. Whereas if you go kind of more the comedic, relatable route, sometimes, I'm not saying 100% of the time, but sprinkle that in there, you're able to, get a lot more engagement over time.
I don't see a lot of, well, I know they're out there, but like back in the day, it was like several marketing firms, advertising agencies. That was like the way to go when social media was kind of like on the rise. But now social media has emerged. A lot of those companies don't know how to change with the times or don't know how to relate, so that's one thing I would definitely want to commend you on for, because it seems like you have it down pat when it comes to the social media marketing, how to reach the consumer there, because I've got to imagine maybe a lot of probably advertising firms, marketing firms has probably went out of business probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's traditional billboard marketing, especially over the pandemic, and television marketing. Like I appreciate that a lot. And, like 6 years ago when we started, everyone was making fun of me for having a meme account. Now memes are cool and memes drive stock prices, and now memes are driving movie sales and box office sales. So like that, I'm just happy it worked out that way. But to me, it's like memes are important, but also creating funny content and video content is also very important. So focusing on, just turning your brand into something that someone wants to follow on social media instead of just being another brand that exists. Like a lot of brands that you guys wear, you don't necessarily follow on Instagram, just because you may buy, you may like them, they may be an established brand and you'll go purchase that product, but like, you're not necessarily following Balenciaga or Nike, you're not necessarily, it's because you just, they market to you in so many different ways. But if you're a new brand coming into the space and you're competing with those people, you have to relate to the customer and figure out a unique way to get the same engagement without having those multi-million-dollar budgets that these big companies do.
I feel like people actually read the memes. That's probably what it drives up like the stock prices, the movies, and all of that, because it's a cool way to get people to pay attention and figure out like, what is this meme talking about? Like, what is it doing? You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. People want to be part of trends for sure.
Now, what was it like growing up in Houston out there in Texas? Because I'd imagine, obviously, when you were younger, there wasn't any memes or anything like that. So was marketing and music always in the future plans, or was it just something that came along?
I used to use Facebook quite a bit at the time because I was working, like when I threw my first initial shows, Instagram was just coming out. But Instagram, I think, came out in like 2011. Or 2012. I want to say it was 2011. And but prior to that, Facebook was a very key factor. I wasn't too big in the MySpace era, but MySpace was also a player as well when it came to event marketing. But I use Facebook event pages quite often, to help my events basically get more people to go to them, and would basically have people with a large following on Facebook, be admins of these event pages. And that was kind of the game back then, was using Facebook as a way to get people to go to events.
Now, was it hard to cross over from Texas getting into LA or getting into California?
So I lived in Seattle prior when I worked for Macklmore. So that was I lived there for about 4 or 5 years, and that's where I first learned about like the legal cannabis industry, because it was recreational there prior to being recreational in California. So I got to see a lot of things that have happened just in the last 2 years, happened about 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago in Seattle. So it's kind of interesting to see the developments in the industry out here, in comparison to what I saw in Seattle.
Do you believe in aliens?
100%. Yeah. I think it's very like you're ridiculous not to believe in aliens.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
like
about the government rollout that they what they doing next month?
I think their marketing plan has been genius. The way they've been rolling these UFOs out.
Yeah, the government, they're amazing at marketing anything. They're amazing at marketing candidates and manipulating media to a different level. I love to just sit back and take notes sometimes and like really like am like, how is this even possible? Like how so many people can be like, just manipulated easily by the government. Like you said, it's one big marketing strategy on social media nowadays with like certain agendas.
Coming from your field of work, you can respect it.
Yeah, 100%. It's crazy the way the Russians have disinformation campaigns and different countries can manipulate our elections through creating videos. It's really absurd.
Not the oil, but the gas pipelines, turning them off. They testing out, seeing what they can do.
It's completely insane. Yeah.
I tell them all the time, I just think we're a bunch of guinea pigs for the government at this point. They're just doing a bunch of stuff to test it out, see how it works out on us and everything.
I wouldn't say
and that doubt carries over to things like the vaccine, and it makes people doubt anything that is maybe a positive medical benefit. Maybe the vaccine is a fucking miracle, like honestly, it could be, but because of this mistrust and doubt that our government has given us time and time again about so many different things, it makes it hard for the Americans to feel comfortable about anything. But the vaccine is more of a global issue versus just an American issue, you know?
Now with your cannabis, because we're on the subject of, you know, the vaccines and all of that, but like with cannabis, you know, they're saying that now people should be on high alert with different pesticides and stuff being sprayed on the cannabis. Like they don't know how safe certain cannabis is now that a lot of people are getting their hands on it. Like how do you filter out that? Like, what do you do to assure that what you're selling is like legit?
Like when working with brands on the recreational market in California, they go through strenuous testing processes, you know, by the state. So like when you're buying things on the traditional market, meaning like the medical market, pre-medical market from a friend or a dealer or, you know, a grower directly, you know, anything, those testing processes weren't available at that time, you know, and also not required by anybody. So in the medical days going into recreational, it's become harder for brands to sustain good product because they can't use a lot of these existing chemicals that may cause health issues on the recreational market. But, you know, there are specific chemicals that people put on their plants when buying it, you know, on the traditional market that give the weed a certain look that looks good to the consumer, that basically bulks out the weed. You know, when you drink creatine, it makes you look, it fills you out. But the moment you stop drinking the creatine, you know, it's like, so it's kind of just like people are putting this creatine-esque sort of, you know, nutrients into their flower and really just kind of like bulking out this weed, you know, so it can cause, you know, they may get a higher dollar for the pound, but it unfortunately will cause negative things for the consumer long term, you know.
They probably won't even know it. They probably won't even know it. You know, they think
no,
it's
but
weed.
I could taste it. I could taste it at this point. Yeah.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
But what is it? Is it like a bitter taste or
it burns your throat?
Get nervous?
Weed shouldn't be burning.
On the lookout now that he said something.
Dave said,
I'm gonna be honest.
His throat been burning?
Yeah, my throat started burning. I'm calling some.
Also, how does ash look? Is it white ash or is it, you know, because the color of the ash can sometimes dictate how well the plant was flushed from chemicals. Because you're supposed to flush your plants for 2 weeks after being harvested to help, you know, alleviate a lot of the chemicals used to help grow it. So if you're not flushing your plants, you know, perfectly or in the right amount of time, it can cause negative effects to your, you know, people like to rush it out the door and sell it. So, but you gotta wait 2 weeks.
What
color
roughly should they be out here looking for in these streets? What color ash should they be looking for? Full
white ash.
Full white.
Yes. And you know, sometimes when you smoke papers, it can, you know, or a Swisher Sweet, your ash can burn darker, you know, but burn a joint. If you're questioning a pound of weed before or a gram of weed and you're purchasing it from a friend, ask if you could roll a quick little pinner joint and just see how the joint burns real quick before you purchase the weed. And you know, if it's a quick pickup and you don't have available the next few months, so that will be cool. We're gonna have a smoke weed brand. I haven't told anyone yet, so I'm announcing it here actually. So that's cool. And you know, just more content and stuff like that. We're gonna be focusing on over the next few months. So just keep supporting, and I appreciate you guys reaching out. It's you know, it means a lot. So yeah, definitely.
You have anything going on, you got to invite us out. We'll come out and support. You got to let us know.
Oh yeah, of course. Anything. 7/10, we're going to have an event. And we also have some events in Vegas and other cities coming up too in Oklahoma.
Okay. Nice. Man. Well, again, you enjoy your day, man. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being great.
Thank you.
Keep doing it, man.
Likewise. Thank you guys. All right. Have a great day.
You too.